Ravi, what are some of the key differences that you've noticed in construction management between India and the US? Because you've been in two different areas.
When I think about the difference between India and US, the number one thing that comes to my mind is safety. Safety takes number one priority here in the US, while when I look back at India, safety is not taken number one priority back in India. There are a lot of regulations that are in place in the US that requires the companies to follow a safety culture, and also there are a lot of liability when it comes to safety. While when you compare it with India, it's not that stringent.
Did you know that construction practices in India and the USA differ significantly? Construction managers in both countries face unique challenges due to cultural, regulatory, and logistical differences. Join us in this episode as we delve into the contrasting construction practices between India and the USA with Ravi Munnangi, CCM, a seasoned civil engineer from Naik Consulting Group, PC. Get ready to be amazed by the unique approach each country takes when it comes to building structures. I'm your host, James Taylor, and this is the Civil Engineering Podcast. It's now time for our Civil Engineering Conversation of the Week with Ravi Munnangi. Ravi, welcome to the Civil Engineering Podcast.
Thank you, James. I'm really excited to be on this podcast. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Ravi, can you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey in civil engineering and also construction management?
Sure. So, I was born and raised in Mumbai, India, and I took up civil engineering as my undergrad, and I graduated from Mumbai University in 2016. Right after I graduated, I worked in a local company that built residential buildings, and I worked on a high-rise residential building for about 1 year after I graduated. And then I moved to the US in 2017, where I completed my graduate in Stevens Institute of Technology in Construction Engineering and Management. And during my co-op, I worked with agencies like NYCT Department of Design and Construction, where we inspected water mains, sewers, and installation of that. And after my graduation from Stevens, I got a job in Naik Consulting Group, where I am working presently. And our clients are New York City Transit and GDC, with whom we do our major projects.
So that sounds like a lot that you've learned over the last, 8 years since graduating college. Has there been one project that you've been really interested in while you've been out of school?
Yes, the one project that really interests me is the current project that I'm working on. It is Tunnelly Avenue Bridge construction, and it is located in North Bergen, New Jersey. And what makes this project very unique is that it is a part of these mega project program, Hudson Tunnel project. I'm sure you might have heard of it. It's a tunnel that they're building from New Jersey to New York for train commuters. So it is pretty interesting because the project on this is completely civil engineering, and that really excites me.
So you talked about it's a project you're working on currently.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what you walk through us what your day-to-day looks like as a civil engineer.
So I reach my workplace pretty early at 7 a.m. in the morning. And
are you a 5 a.m. like up at break of dawn type of guy?
I wake up at 5:30, and then I leave my house at 6:30, and it takes half an hour of commute to reach my workplace. Yes. And right after I reach my office, I grab a cup of coffee, before which I cannot talk to any person because I need that first cup of coffee in the morning.
Don't we all, man? Don't we all? I'm right there with you.
Yes, absolutely. Right after I have a cup of coffee, I speak with my interns. We have a couple of summer interns that are working in our project. We go over daily tasks that we assign to them. And after the tasks are assigned to my interns, I go over my emails and check if there are any hot items. And I prepare a to-do list. That's very important to me because it helps me prioritize which activity takes high priority. And I try to stay completely focused and try to address them one by one based on their priority. And then comes my lunch break. My lunch break is very important to me because that's the time where I relax, I speak with my wife, and watch a nice relaxing video. And after I'm done with my lunch, I take a walk to the job site. And at the job site, we look for safety deficiency and quality deficiency if there are any. And we prepare a safety report. We prepare a non-conformance report if there are any. And we, as a team, we sit together and we address these open issues with the contractor and among our team. And before leaving the workplace, I speak with the contractors about what they plan to do tomorrow. And we assign the tasks to the construction inspectors so that everyone is on the same page of what they can expect the following day.
I love it. So in your day right now, what's your split between engineer design versus construction management?
So we are a construction management company.
Okay.
So all we do is construction management. We have a separate division for design, but our division is primarily focused on construction management. So
I love it. So that brings me into this next question.
Yeah.
Since you've done a little bit of both, you've done design, you've also done construction management. Ravi, what are some of the key differences that you've noticed in construction management between India and the US? Because you've been in two different areas.
Yes. So when I think about the difference between India and US, the number one thing that comes to my mind is safety. Safety takes number one priority here in the US, while when I look back at India, it's a bit of, safety is not taken number one priority back in India. I worked in India in 2017, so I'm hoping there are some changes that are being done. But from my experience, safety is not taken number one priority back in India. Other thing that I've noticed is the cost of construction back in India is very cost effective because the labor and the material are locally sourced, and that brings down the cost very significantly. So
safety and cost are the two main, I guess, differences between India and US. What do you think the safety aspect is here versus India? Why do you think that's such a big difference?
Well, I think there are a lot of regulations that are in place in the US that requires the companies to follow a safety culture. And also there are a lot of liability when it comes to safety. While when you compare it with India, it's not that stringent. The laws are not in place when it comes to construction safety. So I'm hoping it's going in the right direction back in India.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping for that.
What are some of the biggest challenges you face in managing complex construction projects, and how do you overcome them?
Well, when you're working with these mega agencies like New York City Transit, NYCT, and GDC, there are a lot of utility companies, agencies that are involved in making this project a success, and bringing them together on a particular day to execute a particular task sometimes makes it very difficult. I can give you an example. So in the projects that we are working on, we had one of the utility companies to come on our job site and locate few utility poles so that we can construct a bridge. But they were not on board with that because there was a major basketball tournament that was going on, and they didn't want to relocate these poles to disrupt the service. So that put us a few weeks behind the schedule. So we had to do some out of sequence work to bring the project back into schedule. So it really takes a lot working with these big agencies because a lot of parties are involved.
Sounds like agility is a big aspect of working on these projects because something could happen. And like you said, you kind of came in and said, all right, we're not able to do this because of, the big basketball tournament that was going on.
Yeah.
What can we do instead of that so we don't run behind on schedule? Agility is a key part as an engineer for us to be able to work with our clients.
Right, absolutely. And also having these discussion points in the pre-construction meeting also goes a long way so that all the parties are on the same page and we know and the other stakeholders know, okay, what is expected on a particular given phase. in a project.
So keying into that, project planning is crucial in construction management. Can you share your approach to planning and executing construction projects to ensure that they stay on track?
Yeah, so in our project, in the current project that I'm working on, we have weekly and bi-weekly meetings with the stakeholders, with the contractors, and we go over each item that is open, and we try to put in ball and code of each activity and assign that ball and code to a party, so that all the people that are working, all the employees that are working, they stay accountable and they know what needs to be done to execute a particular activity to success.
Right.
So what it does is that it creates accountability. It defines the scope of work for the next 2 weeks until we meet again, or next week until we meet again. And that keeps the project on track, in my experience.
Can you share some insights into your experience working with some larger organizations like MTA, NYCT, like you mentioned previously, Gateway Development Commission, and what made these projects so unique?
So my experience working with New York City Transit, I worked on two major projects. One is Rutgers Tube rehabilitation. It was a rehab repair of this tunnel that goes from Manhattan to Brooklyn. And it was a part of the Sandy hurricane that came in 2012, which damaged a lot of tunnels. So this was part of that project. And during this project, we worked on replacement of communication components such as fiber cables, antenna cables. We also worked on mechanical components such as replacement of fan plant equipment. And we also built a utility structure at Roosevelt Island that's located in New York City. And working with GDC, as mentioned previously, that I worked on, I'm currently working on this bridge that's located in North Bergen, New Jersey. And it's a part of this big program, Hudson Tunnel Project. So working with these agencies definitely come with a lot of challenges. For example, working on weekends, staying away from your family, and weeknights. So, and working with these major parties comes with its own challenges. And what makes it unique is that it gives me immense satisfaction knowing that the work that I do today is going to affect the lives of New Yorkers and people of New Jersey for many generations to come. So
yeah, that's got to be an awesome feeling of seeing that put into place and really understanding the impact that we make as civil engineers on the day-to-day lives.
Absolutely.
Of those around us. So that's really cool. I wanted to go back on something that you just said was, with these larger projects and having to work on weekends, there's sometimes a sacrifice with family.
Yeah.
Can you talk about a little bit about how you balance that? Because I think as engineers, that's one thing that we struggle with, where we want to work too much. There's a lot of things that have to get done. There's all the statistics out there that say there's not enough engineers to get done the amount of work that needs to get done. Right. How do you balance that aspect, especially when you need to work on weekends?
Right. So first of all, I would like to tell you that the reason that major construction happens on weekends and weeknights is because to not disrupt the lives of daily commuters. So MTA, GDC, and all these major agencies, they take that into consideration. So that's why this work happens on weekends and weeknights. While it affects our life as engineers, what we do is that if we are working on Saturdays and Sundays, we take days off during the week, so Good. That the major work that's supposed to be done on the weekends is taken care, and we pick it up when we are back at work.
That's great. Yeah, it takes balance, right? It absolutely takes balance of making sure that. Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you ensure effective communication and collaboration among your team members to achieve successful project outcomes?
Well, when working in a team, it's really important that every person in the team gets these idea that we are one as a team. So what the manager does in this current project that I'm working on is that he brings pizza or some food once a month, and we chat on the lunch table. And we don't talk about construction, but we talk about general life in general. and we talk about, some major sports that have been happening. So what it does is that it brings confidence in
Yeah.
the team, knowing that, okay, we are in fact a team. We are in fact, a team. And and the other thing is that during these weekly and bi-weekly meetings, we talk about these open communication, open items. During these weekly and bi-weekly meetings, we go over the tasks that each person needs to do, and in doing that task, every single person is accountable and knows what they need to do. And if my manager always says that there if a problem exists and if you don't speak about it, you would never know that a problem exists. So we have an open door policy, and that brings immense confidence in the team members.
I like what you said about the team aspect, because it's super important to build teams up around you, right?
Yeah.
You can't do everything by yourself.
Right.
If you take too much on your plate or to put too much on your shoulders,
Yeah.
you're putting too much pressure on yourself, and you have to build that team up around you. But you need to do things to make that team, right? It doesn't just happen with a flip of a switch. It's those moments where you're kind of spending time with each other, that you're really building each other up and learning about each other, not just in the workplace, but the things that we do outside of the workplace that really kind of creates that bond.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree.
So talk a bit about sustainability. It seems to be a big buzzword, especially with construction projects. So how do you integrate sustainable practices into your construction projects?
Yeah, so I can give you a few examples on the project that I'm currently working on. So as I said, there's a lot of excavation that is happening on this project, the project that I'm currently working on. So there are a lot of trucks that come in the job site to load out this soil. And I have noticed in a lot of projects that I've worked in the past that when the truck is set to hit the road, they usually use a lot of water to clean the tires. So what we did is that we built a gravel road, and the truck goes over it, and the soil just falls off. And that really saves a lot of water. The second thing is the light fixtures that are installed in our construction trailers. They are motion sensor. So if a person is not inside the room, the light automatically goes off within the next 2 minutes. And we have a lot of demolition that's going on. And so the demolition concrete of the abutments, piers, wing walls, and the slab that is demolished on a project, we plan to use it on building a new access road, which will be used by this program for a decade to come. And that's how we take sustainable practices into account.
I love that. Those are two very small items, but make a huge impact, right? And realistically, it's, how difficult is it to change a light switch from an on-off to a motion sensor? And or how much more difficult is it to wash tires off, or instead just drive over the stone with stabilized construction entrance? Those two little things create those sustainable opportunities to allow us to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And there's one more thing that I forgot to mention, is that our contractors, the contractors that we are working with, they build a small garden using the waste plywood and the soil that has been excavated, and they build a small garden, and they ripe their own tomatoes now. So that's very
interesting. Very. And again, it's basically encouraging to say, hey, there's a lot of things out there that you could focus on when it comes to sustainable practices. And as engineers, when we start thinking about, sustainable practices, sometimes we swing all the way to the one side and say, like, oh, we have to go completely green or whatever it might be. But it's like, hey, there's some things that we can do intermittently to not need to go to an extreme where it impacts our design or functionality of construction, but it really makes an impact on the world around us.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
So Ravi, what final piece of advice can you share with civil engineers who are looking to advance their careers in construction management?
So one final piece of advice that I would like to give a fellow engineer is that always be open to learning new things in construction management and in civil engineering, because a civil engineer cannot be proficient in all the disciplines. For example, there is structure, there is civil, there is plumbing, there is mechanical, there is sustainability. There are so many disciplines which makes a construction industry. So always ask questions in disciplines that you're not proficient in, and that will take you to a long place.
I love that.
Yeah.
Continuously learning, right?
Yes.
You focus on one thing, but there's a lot of things out there
Absolutely.
that you can learn about and can really grow on. So, Ravi, it's been really good talking to you, and had a lot to share about construction management.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
All right, now it's time for our CE Hot Seat segment of the week with Ravi Munnangi. All right, welcome to the CE Hot Seat. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, Ravi. Do you have any specific rituals that you practice every day? For example, do you have a specific morning ritual or lunchtime ritual, things that you do consistently that contribute to you being a successful professional?
Yes. So when I wake up in the morning, I say a small prayer because I'm a person of faith. And I tell myself, Ravi, you got to get up and make a living for your family. And then I head out to work. And when I'm back from work, I take a walk with my wife. And I go over the challenges, if there were any, with my wife. And she gives her own perspective. And she's a software engineer herself. So she gives her perspective on how to manage and deal with these challenges. Right after my walk with her, I take some break and then hit the gym. And I like to keep that time for myself, hit the gym for about 45 minutes, take a run, and come back home. So it really proves to be very helpful when I have something to do with my mind, body, and soul.
What is one book that you recommend to engineers regularly, or just one book that you found to be extremely helpful in your professional and or personal development?
So one book I would recommend is that Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's one book that I gifted my wife last year, and she read it, and she is now behind my back. She wants me to read that book as well. So I did some reading of that book, and it gave me an idea that, okay, a human body, a human mind, it develops an habit by the small activities, the small things that we do every single day. That's what builds habit in a human mind. And eventually that's what makes the person that we are.
Love it. Thinking back on your managers of the past, picture your favorite manager or managers. What made them your favorite?
Yeah. So my favorite manager of the past is Naresh Patel. Shout out to you, Naresh Patel, if you're looking at this video, at this podcast. He really pushed me a lot in pursuing Certified Construction Manager, this certification. And now that I achieved that, now he's behind my back to pursue this EIT and PE. And what he has been doing is that he has been trying to pour in his knowledge and his experience into my career, knowing that taking these certifications, taking this licensure will not only impact my career at this point in my life, but also my career in the future. So he's a manager who is not only focused on completing the project, but he's a manager that is interested in an employee. So
awesome. Yeah, it seems like a great manager, mentor.
Of course.
I've got one final question, and that's the critical civil engineering career elevator advice question. And what that is if you got into an elevator with a civil engineering student and had around, let's say, 30 to 40 seconds with them, what career advice would you share with them?
One career advice that I would share with a civil engineer if I had 30 to 40 seconds is that always be open to learning and never think that you know everything in construction and in civil engineering, because there are a lot of disciplines, a lot of things that are coming new in construction, a lot of trends, a lot of new technologies. So keeping an open mind to learning these technologies and these new trends will take you a very long way in your career. So always keep learning.
Awesome. Well, Ravi, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can our listeners connect with you?
You can connect me on my LinkedIn.
All right. Well, you heard it. Thanks, Ravi, so much.
Thank you so much, James.
Please remember, you can find the show notes for this episode at civilengineeringpodcast.com. There you'll find a summary of the key points discussed in today's episode, as well as a link to any of the resources, websites, or books mentioned during the episode. Until next time, I wish you all the best in your civil engineering endeavors.